subject has really touched a nerve, and recent events in northern Utah have probably put an exclamation point on it. But First Amendment audits are something that many of us in the local government world are concerned about. And so we decided that we should do a session on this. And first of all, I just want to start out with a couple of items. Number one, I believe in the U.S. Constitution. I think it's an inspired document. I think the amendments are critical to us in our rights as human beings. I think free speech is a precious right that needs to be protected. And I also believe that government needs to be transparent in what they do and not impede our rights as citizens. But I don't necessarily believe that our local government agencies have this in mind, that they're out trying to impair or impede our free exercise of our rights. Now, I think there can be bad actors out there in any situation, but I don't believe that's what we see in general with our local government agencies. I also believe that we need to be prepared to handle these situations where people will come in to test our local government agencies' respect for the Constitution and their rights. And I think we also need to be ready to protect our people and our property. So just a couple of things, and then I'll throw in the disclaimers. First of all, this is not a presentation about police interactions when it comes to First Amendment activists, sovereign citizens, or anything like that. I believe this presentation will help law enforcement in doing their job, but realize that there are other resources out there, and it's a lot bigger subject to cover than what we're going to talk about in a half hour this morning. I'll be sending out a guidance document from the Department of Justice on this very subject. And also, you can refer to other resources that are out there. One of those would be Lexipol. Many of you subscribe to Lexipol as your policy service, and they have some great guidance on that as well. So I just want to dial in exactly what we're talking about today. The second part, when I'm talking disclaimers, is I'm not an attorney. And I'm not giving you legal advice today. You should always consult your attorney about anything legal in nature. Our hope today is that this presentation will start a broader discussion as it pertains to First Amendment audits and exactly how it pertains to your organization. So we have a discussion, and your attorney should be involved with that. What can and can't we do? What should and shouldn't we do? As it pertains to interactions with the general public. So I think this is hopefully a point where we can start that discussion and make it better. So I'm not an attorney, but I am a risk manager, and my job with the trust is to help keep you out of trouble, to help make your job easier, and help avoid some of those bad problems that can happen out there. And so today, my goal is to help provide you some information and some tools on dealing with First Amendment audits. Now, there is a broader subject of the First Amendment and protests and things like that. What can and can't we do? How do we deal if a protest comes into town? That's not what we're covering today. We're really drilling in on that First Amendment audit subject. However, we do have an excellent overview of this subject that Heather White and Scott Young did in a webinar for the Trust here. Actually, it was in 2020, kind of at the peak of when those protests were going on around the country. And they did an outstanding job of talking about the overall First Amendment legal issues pertaining to that and protests and all of that. So I'll refer you to that. If you're watching on YouTube, there'll be a link floating around somewhere that you can click on. If you're watching live right now, there's the link that you can go to after, and I will be sending that out in the follow-up email that we'll be sending out after the presentation. Okay, so now we've got all the disclaimers and everything done. Let's talk about the subject of the important subject of the day, First Amendment audits. And I'll say on here, get ready. Your audit is coming. Doesn't matter the size of your organization. Somebody's going to show up and they're going to start swinging a camera around taking video of your people. They may be on the sidewalk, they may be in the front, at the front foyer of your building, and you're going to be faced with this situation. It's happened to many of you already. Some of you have seen the news recently of various local government agencies being visited, whether they're law enforcement or the city hall or the county or whoever it may be. We're under a microscope when it comes to First Amendment audits. Some of these have got a lot of media coverage, and some of them have got an awful lot of hits on YouTube. So these interactions can be unnerving. All of a sudden, there's somebody in your office and they're filming you. They're just walking around and being silent. They're not saying anything. When you ask them if you can help them, they say, nope, I'm good. You may feel threatened in these situations. And that's really why we're here today, is to help you be prepared, to help you prepare your staff, your coworkers, when it comes to this subject. We had an interesting discussion here at the Trust last week. I said, hey, I'm going to be doing this webinar next week. Anybody that's at the Trust that's interested, wants to attend, please do so. And we had a rousing discussion about the subject. And I think that's probably the same that will happen around. Okay, here's that video clip. I hope everything works out right. This is an interaction that happened here in the state of Utah, and take a look and think about how you would respond.
Huh? No, I've been helped.
Okay.
Mind if we ask what you got?
Name and badge?
Sergeant Alexander.
Okay.
Badge number 63. How can I help you?
Oh, I said I don't need no help.
Okay, so my curiosity is, why are you filming the PD?
Is it against the law to do it?
Well, we're within our right to find out why you're doing it, in case you're trying to scope it out for a shooting or an attack or something like
It
that.
does pose a potential safety risk.
So which right is that?
Which right?
Which right?
Yeah, you say you got the right to check.
To come and make sure. Yeah, I want to ascertain what your purpose is in filming the PD.
So someone that is not breaking any law, you're gonna just come and...
Have I detained you?
Oh, I'm not saying you're detaining me there. I never said that you were detaining me.
Okay, so what's the...
I just said...
So here's my question. If somebody were outside of your home on a public place and they were filming you, how would you feel?
Hey, it's his rights to film.
Is that really how
Yep.
you'd feel, or are you
Yes,
saying that
sir.
because you're talking to two police officers?
Nope.
Talk to him.
Nope.
You wouldn't be at all worried about it?
It's his business.
Okay, that's fair.
If he's
So
in my property,
my next question
if he's in my property,
are
that's
you willing
different.
to tell me what your name is?
No, sir. No, sir. By the way, what's your name, sir?
Officer Harrison,
And badge number?
117.
Okay. All right.
Okay, well, that's fair.
So you're worried that I'm gonna do terrorists, you said?
Well, I don't know what you're going to do, but usually when people are unwilling to even let me snap a picture of them, would you mind taking a picture of him?
Working on that. Just
So these guys
So
are
if you're gonna
forcing
take a
themselves
video
to
of
take
us,
pictures of me.
I'll take a video of you
It's
as
okay.
well.
Yeah, it's okay. You can go ahead and do
Within our constitutional rights
it. Which is?
to not get attacked, killed,
I get
murdered.
attacked, huh?
All right, so what do you think about that? What do you think about that interaction? Positive, negative? Did the cops do anything right, wrong? These are the types of interactions that we're seeing on social media, particularly YouTube, and we see these becoming more and more common all across the country. So what is a First Amendment audit? Well, it's a video encounter. Almost all of these are videotaped or filmed in one way or another. It's an encounter with a quote unquote citizen journalist or a social media activist. Okay, a lot of times these are people with an axe to grind. They don't like law enforcement. They don't like government. Some are, I believe, really true believers in the First Amendment and in the Constitution, and they want to make sure everything is going okay. Some of them are entrepreneurs who are making money on videos that get a lot of hits. A lot of times these people will not provide identification or let you know who they are or what they're up to. They may be wearing masks. There are a lot of things that might be a little unnerving. So what is their overall goal? Generally, I think their goal is to make sure you are respecting the Constitution. But I think many of these people are looking to get you to have a reaction, to provoke a reaction and get hits and make money. Many of these people have large networks of followers on different social media groups, and sometimes they're changing channels, but because they have interactions with these networks, they're able to get a lot of followers quickly when they create a new channel. And many of the videos will get hundreds of thousands, if not millions of hits. And if you know anything about social media, if you're getting millions or hundreds of thousands of hits, you're probably making money. You can monetize the content that you're putting on YouTube and other social media outlets. Okay, so this is kind of the group that we have. It may be a live stream, so you may not have any time to prepare for what's going out there. They may do it live. Now, that's not generally what I see. Most of these, actually, they go back and edit, and they'll edit out things that make them look bad. They will definitely accentuate things that you have done or I have done that are not the most beneficial towards our character reputation. There might be one person, or they may have several. You might get hit with 3 or 4 people that will show up and just start videoing various aspects. Like I said, they may be out on the sidewalk. They may come into your front office. They particularly like to sit outside of a jail or a police station and see if they can provoke a reaction from law enforcement. They will generally hang around until somebody responds. They will likely ask you your name, your job, what you do. They might ask you if you're law enforcement and you interact with them, they almost for sure will ask what your badge number is and what your name is. They may ask for complaint forms. If I have a complaint, who do I go to? How do I go about lodging this complaint? They may point out things about your facility that are that aren't right. There may be something that an employee of your organization ran a stoplight or did some traffic violation. You may have your flag displayed wrong or something like that, and they'll point out minor things like that. Okay. The targets generally for this are law enforcement, public officials, public employees, and really anybody who will react. So what does a general First Amendment audit look like? A lot of times these people will be silent. They'll just come in, they'll walk around taking video. Occasionally, they are very confrontational. They may be somebody that, or they may be trying to provoke this interaction or provoke a response that makes you look bad. And so they might call you names. They might ask you things that are you know, difficult to hear, or things that we don't want to talk about. They may say, "How much money do you make?" You know, I can go on and I can look up your salary. I'm going to post that online. Sometimes they can be very confrontational, but many times they're not. All right. So what do we need to be prepared for? Be prepared for things that will be uncomfortable. They may post your name, your email, your phone number, your salary on YouTube or on other social media, especially if you're somebody who reacts and they don't have a good interaction with. You may get a flood of calls or nasty grams, I call them, if your email or your phone number gets posted up there. Now, I don't like this. I think this is tantamount to harassment. But once again, I'm not an attorney, and you'll want to approach every one of those cases from that angle. But the most important thing is, let's not get to that point to start with. Okay, you saw in that video that we posted there, the officer took out his phone and started taking pictures of the First Amendment auditor. I'm going to recommend that you don't do that. Why would I say that? Why should you not pull out your phone. Well, we just gave that First Amendment auditor a great opportunity to make a grammar request of your phone pictures or other things that are out there. Or that may be on our phone. Did you record any audio there? And they'll do a grammar request of that. And it may be my personal phone. It may be my work phone, but that's something that you may have to deal with. Don't give them that opportunity. Okay. All right. So a lot of you are feeling frustrated right now. So what can we do about this? You're feeling like, well, this is really an invasion here. I don't mean anything ill towards people's constitutional rights. That's really what we do as local governments, is we protect people's rights and we help people have a good community to live in, and we provide great services and all these things. And these people are coming in and harassing us. What do I do? Well, we're going to give you some tools and some knowledge right now about that. First, number one thing is we work for public agencies in a public place. And if I am a person in a public place, I can take pictures, I can film. If I'm on a public sidewalk, it is legal for me to take video, to take pictures, even if it's of the jail or the police station or city hall. And speaking my mind is legal. I can go out in a public forum and public place, and I can say I'm mad at the government, or I'm mad at something else, or I'm religious, or I'm atheist, or whatever it is. I can go out there and shout it to the top of my lungs. So it is legal to speak my mind. However, depending on the time, the place, content, some of that can be limited. So for example, many of you in your public meetings, if we have a city council meeting, we may limit the amount of time. You can get up and you can say the things that you're concerned about in our community, but we're giving you 3 minutes to do it. And we're also going to put some limits on the in the manner in which we allow people to do that. If you're vulgar and if you're threatening, well, those types of things may not be permitted. And once again, talk to your attorney about these things and how you put those in place. All right. There are other places where there's not an expectation to be able to film. A restroom, changing room, places like that, a private office in somebody's workplace, polling places, airports, courtrooms, those types of places may not be allowed. But in general, our places of work, our forward-facing parts of our building are public forums. They're a place where people can come in and use that area. So we've got to realize that I can't just say, you can't film in here. And be prepared for that, and prepare all of our staff for that. Okay. So how do we prepare for this? We want to educate everybody in the organization, because it doesn't matter what your job is, you may come under this type of scrutiny. If I work at the front desk, absolutely, for sure, I need to be prepared for this. But can a public works employee out in the working out in the street somewhere also come under a First Amendment audit? Absolutely. Can a police officer out doing their job come under this type of scrutiny? Absolutely. So everybody needs to be trained and prepared for that. And train everybody on that filming is legal. In a public employee in a public space, they can film you. As uncomfortable as it is, they can film. We need to be trained to not overreact. And as a matter of fact, as we'll talk in a minute, we want to go just the opposite direction on that. Here's some other things that we can do to prepare. Designate our public versus non-public areas. What is front of house? What is back of house? Many times these First Amendment auditors will go wherever they can get away with. They'll wander throughout your facility. And if we haven't designated, hey, this is a staff only area, or put some controls, meaning doors, and locking doors, locking areas up, we may not have a great leg to stand on in stopping them from going to these places. Realize that these people can't interfere with your ability to do your job. If our employees are there and this person comes up and they start rifling through your papers, or they're asking you incessant questions or leaning over your shoulder, then they've probably gone too far. And that's not what I've seen in most of these videos that I've watched. Most of them are fairly respectful. They just walk into the place and see whether there will be a reaction. Remember that, following employees around, trailing them all the time, or following them around as they do their jobs, may border on stalking. And once again, talk to your attorneys about what that line is. But if somebody's just walking around in the front office and taking some video there, they're free to do that. Know what goes over the line. Okay, another thing that we need to do is think about protecting our confidential information. Many of your organizations out there will have important information like driver's license numbers, maybe social security numbers, medical information, you name it. There's a lot of private information that we don't want to get out to the public. And if you have those types of papers all over your desk, and somebody comes in and videos, that could be a problem. So think about that. Today, what kind of information do we use? And if this happens, what can I do to protect that type of information from becoming public? Where should we be using that information? That's a good discussion to have. With everything else aside, with the First Amendment audits aside, let's talk about how we control that important private information. Okay. And also, once again, consult your attorney. How do we prepare on this? What areas can we designate as private, and what are non-public areas, and what areas are those public places where people can come in and they can protest and they can video and do all of those things. Talk to your attorney about that stuff. Okay, what about a threat? Sometimes, like I said, these types of visits may be unnerving, but they may not be necessarily a threat. And I don't believe that most of these are. But if you feel threatened, if somebody threatens violence upon you, if a weapon is brandished, something like that, call 911. It's a simple thing there. If you feel there is a threat, call 911. Let them know what's going on, and let law enforcement take action there to figure out, is it really a threat or not? So take a look at what is harassment, have that discussion with your attorney, and then let's march on. Okay, so reaction. You're still feeling frustrated at this point. Here's what we need to do when we have a First Amendment audit. Smile, be calm, ask them, hey, what can I do to help you? And when they say nothing, say, all right, well, let me know if there's something I can do to help. Let them know to have a nice day. You may find a situation where where they're out on your sidewalk there, and you're walking back, you're coming back to work from lunch, and this person's out there taking a video. You can preempt some of this. You can say, oh, I see you're exercising your constitutional rights. Well, let me know if you need anything today. It's kind of hot out here today. I've got some water in there if you need it. Let them do their audit within reason. We don't allow them to go places that it's not a public area where they can go. We don't allow them to get into a situation where they could be hurt or hurt somebody else. But in most cases, we want to produce the most boring YouTube video ever. Because guess what? If it's a boring YouTube video, nobody's going to watch. And they may not even post it up. Kill them with kindness is the best way to react to a First Amendment audit. Respect their rights. Allow them to do their audit, and then they'll go, darn it, I didn't get anybody to react, but They may say, hey, good job on your organization for respecting the Constitution, respecting my First Amendment rights. Okay. So just I wanted to throw a slide up here and just talk about this front of house, back of house concept. Protect those non-public areas. Okay, so I took this picture in one of our organizations the other day, and I made them a little nervous. There were some calls. Some guy came in and took a picture. Sometimes we in many of our buildings we'll have this front counter, right? Here's the public's area where they can interact, and back behind that we have staff areas where we have offices and where we do what we do. Where's the interaction? Well, let's look over here on the far left hand of the screen there. There's some little swinging doors. Is there a place there where we can put a simple sign that says staff only or employees only beyond this point? Is there a way that we can put a doorknob on that is locked, that we can discourage people from going where they're not supposed to? Think about that front of house and back of house, and let's be consistent with that. One of the big concerns I have as a risk manager as I walk around your facilities and look at various risks is security. And I'll ask you out there, if I went out to whatever shop, public works shop, parks department, whatever, where we have our fleet of vehicles, what's the chance that I could get into a truck or a car and not have to hotwire it to drive it away? The keys are left in it. Well, I think we're very trusting people, and it's great. We have low crime rates in most parts of the state, and we've gotten away with that for a long time. But we should take a hard look at our security risks. Do we leave the back door open on the building because sometimes people forget their keys? Do we make it too easy for people to get where they shouldn't get? We should all take a look at that and harden that front part or that interface between front of house and back of house. We need to do the same thing when it comes to our private information that we need to keep secure. Okay. All right. Here's one item. After all the frustration that you felt through this presentation, I say, do you want to trash their audit? Do you want to make it so they don't get out of it what they want? Well, number one, don't give them anything to use. Okay, that's a pretty simple thing. If we kill them with kindness and they don't have anything that's going to get a lot of hits, we win, right? We've respected their constitutional rights, and they didn't get the hits that they wanted, and maybe they'll go out and get a day job. Here's another thing that you can do. And this one you can do this as publicly as you want. Talk to your attorney about that. Turn on some music. You say, why do I want to turn on some music? Well, when we talk about YouTube, every time I upload a YouTube video, it goes through a screen and it looks for any copyrighted music, and somehow their software in there will go through the video and find out if there's anything that's copyrighted, and it will flag the video and not let me upload it. It will not be monetized. People can't make money on it. So you may just turn on some music out of your phone and say, particularly if somebody's being confrontational or whatever, you like music. I really like music. I think of thinking of a couple of songs here. If you go back to the 60s, Barry McGuire wrote a song, the Eve of Destruction. maybe some John Lennon, Imagine, or something like that. Turn it on and play it loud enough that it's definitely going to be captured in their video. Well, you just put a real challenge on them in getting this video uploaded and making money on it, because they'll get a copyright hit from YouTube. There will be a claim against that video, and they won't make any money on it. So that's kind of a simple thing that we can do, and we can really weed out who's there to see about to see how you're doing with the Constitution, and who's there to make money. Okay. All right. Here's one more video.
Let's just say if it was you that sent me an email, I would have a hard time verifying that it's actually the person making the complaint that's doing the email. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. But anybody could just come in and make a complaint without putting their names and everything, right?
Yeah.
And you guys will take the complaint and take it serious without the name? Yeah? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Well, I think you answered my question. Good job. Thank you, sir.
Okay, you bet.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, you bet.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a good day.
You too. I've been walking a lot, so I'm sweating.
Oh, no, I just saw you in the film, and I was like, I didn't know whether you were at the press.
Oh, yeah.
Like, did you need something? Or?
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate your help, though.
All right, yeah.
Thanks for being professional.
Thank you, sir.
Bye. You too.
Okay, so we kind of had both sides of the coin here. How do we make this interaction positive? Number one, be prepared, so we know what's coming. That's what I think goes bad with these sometimes, is it's unnerving. All of a sudden, here's this dude out in the parking lot, and he's taking pictures of stuff. He's doing wandering around, looking at different things, taking pictures of the license plates on our vehicles. It makes us nervous. Be prepared. If we know what's going to happen, we'll be ready to make this as good as it can be. Give them the best customer service ever. Let's make sure that they go away from our organization going, yep, you know what? They did a good job. They respected my rights, and they treated me with a lot of respect, and I don't have to go back there again. Respect their rights. We all have rights under the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and we want those to be protected, and we should do that as governmental agencies. But we want to be prepared for that. Let's keep everyone safe. Be aware of real threats that are out there. In general, I don't see these guys as being a threat to your organization, except if we react in a bad way. And that threat is going to be bad press, potentially lawsuits. Who knows what could come out of that. But let's be prepared and really kill them with kindness. All right. Questions, Mike. It looks like there's some questions in the chat room. What do we got?
We actually don't have any questions.
Oh, okay. I saw 10 up there, so I thought there might be questions. Folks, if you've got questions, type those into the chat box, and we'll answer those right now.
Are you going to share these slides? Will there be slides available?
Yeah, I can
to
definitely share the slides. We're videoing this. We'll post it up onto our YouTube channel later today. I'll also send out that Department of Justice guide on these types of interactions, and the link to the First Amendment webinar that we did a couple of years ago as well. So yeah, for sure.
Question, Dan asks, I work for a library. What can we do if these people are filming other patrons and making them feel uncomfortable?
Yeah, great question. Number one, talk to your attorney so you make sure, and I'm not going to give legal advice on that, but if people are feeling that there is a threat, or there's somebody taking, inappropriate pictures of somebody, we see that. Obviously, you're going to call 911 and get law enforcement out there to have a contact with them. Now, law enforcement may or may not take any action there. They may determine that, you know what, you're in a public place and I'm filming for my blog or whatever it is. You're perfectly within your right. However, if you're filming in a restroom or something like that, well, the person's probably going to take a ride downtown. So there's definitely a line there, but don't hesitate to call law enforcement. I wouldn't call them on all of these things, but if you feel that there's a threat, definitely make that call.
From a city council standpoint, what's the best way to handle people who attend those meetings for an audit?
I think it's the same thing. We want to have definitely very thought out what our controls are on that. If we just have an open forum at every city council meeting, well, that opens us up to some real challenges when it comes to this. And so we want to have a policy. What I've seen a lot of our agencies will do out there is they will have a handout that goes with the agenda for the meeting that says, if you want to share your thoughts on this, here are the rules. You have to speak during the time that it is designated for that, or we have basically the open time when the public can comment. We're limiting you to 3 minutes, and you need to state your name and what interaction you have with the city. But sit down with your city attorney and say, how can we build a program so it's really clear what people can and can't do, so our meetings don't get away from us.
We offer mental health and substance abuse services, which have disclosure regulations. Can they film in our waiting room where clients may be?
I would consult my attorney on that.
Attorney. Yeah.
That's a tough one. That really is a challenging one, and I'm not just punning on that one because it's a hard question. You should talk to your attorney about that. I believe there's still the ability to film in a public agency, in a public place, but there may be some limits that we can deal with. I can see the challenge that you're facing there. I would sit down with your attorney and talk about that and say, maybe run through some scenarios. Somebody walks in and they're doing a First Amendment audit, and they pan around our waiting room, and there's somebody in there who is a high profile person in the community, and they're in seeking mental health services. Well, that could be something that if it got published out there, could be a challenge. So definitely I would talk to my attorney about that. Good question.
And a couple of questions here that kind of relate to each other. First one is, are children protected at all from the filming? And second, can other members of the public that are being recorded request to have their face blurred or omitted from the video?
You can definitely request, and I think, yeah, like you say, Mike, those are really related questions. But if I'm at the beach, it's a public place, right? And somebody pans around, and my kids are out there in their bathing suit. That might make me feel uncomfortable. I don't believe, once again, it's an attorney question. I don't believe that there's really a right that anybody has to not have that. Now, if they're taking intimate pictures, well, somebody is changing in a public place, and they're taking that type of a picture, there are definitely protections on that. But I can't just necessarily, I'm walking down the street in, take for example, Times Square at the ball drop for New Year's Eve. I can't go to ABC or whatever the network is that's filming that and say, you see me in that crowd of people out there, you need to blur my face because I don't want anybody to know that I was there. That is not something that we're going to be able to make that type of a request. However, if you are in in the wet restroom or a changing room, something like that, it's obviously a different story.
Yeah, and that's what Matt says in the chat. Matt had a great comment that says it's important to remember that when I or my family are in a public setting, like a library, a council room, any kind of building, we don't have a reasonable expectation of privacy.
Absolutely. Perfect. Okay. Anything else?
That's all we got right now.
That's about got the questions. Well, folks, I hope, like I said, this is not intended to be the do all end all, fix all these issues. It's something we're going to be dealing with. It's something that no matter the size of our organization, and if we're in an urban area or out in the middle of nowhere, this will probably happen to us eventually. So we need to be prepared. We need all of our staff to be prepared for that. So we do a good job. Let's kill them with kindness. Let's let them know that we respect the Constitution, and we're not going to give them anything that they can use in their YouTube channel to make us look bad and make them money. Anyway, folks, thanks so much for your attention. I hope you will go out and continue this discussion in your organization and say, how does this pertain to us, and what do we need to do to move forward, whether it's a policy or simply putting up some signs, a discussion with your attorney. Let's move this discussion forward. So we're hanging a sign on the state of Utah that says, we respect the Constitution and you don't need to bother coming out here to do audits because we're going to do it right. Folks, thanks so much. I appreciate everybody out there. Appreciate all of your help in making Utah a safer place. Go out and have a safe day.